What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. Today we're going to talk about positives and negatives from the Cubs series. A little beef action between some broadcasters on the yes broadcast, and Nestor's comments about being moved to the pen. Scott, I think that's what you meant last episode when you set the tone for the pod.
I'm very proud of you for going back and actually reading the thing. That's good. Yeah, and the biggest piece of this is that all of that culminated in a series win for the New York Yankees. First time since I don't know, too many series ago. So good things.
Are you buying into they just can't beat bad teams because they lost the series to the Nats and the Rangers and the Cardinals, bad teams, and they won the series against the Cubs, good team, especially because I think the Cubs have one of the best records. Team? Don't they have one of the best records in baseball since like August 1st or something like that?
I mean, they were on a big hot stretch, and the offense was hot before the Yankees came into town. So yeah, they ran into a team that had been playing very well. Obviously, the no-hitter that came right before the series started as well. So yeah, they had some momentum, especially on the offensive side.
Oh, they pitched well all weekend.
Everybody pitched well.
Right.
It's not a bad team series win for sure. But again, that just goes to the point that it doesn't really matter who's in front of the Yankees at a given moment. It's like they shoot themselves in the foot or they don't. Like they just, I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason for what I'm seeing as far as like who the opponent is. I don't think that matters as much. It just matters. They take care of their own business. They take care of their things, and that's so easy and cliche to say, but it's true. They play to their own abilities, and sometimes they just look like a different team.
Yeah, I don't think this is a good, can't beat bad teams, play down to their level, can beat good teams, play up to their level. I think the Yankees are inconsistent. I think most teams in baseball this year are inconsistent. And what you've seen with the Yankees is the offense disappeared this weekend. The pitching was fantastic. The bullpen, we know what their problems have been over the course of the season. So there's just inconsistencies up and down this roster. There's a lot of holes. Sometimes you're going to get a good series and strong and everything's clicking. Other series, you're going to get the team just having lapses and losing to bad teams even after winning the first game, because they won the first game of the series against Washington and against Texas and St. Louis, and then they couldn't follow that up.
No, it doesn't. There's also a big piece of this that's, I don't think, a coincidence. We're going to talk about the struggles since his last home run, but his last home run, Aaron Judge, was during their last series win. So when you look at that, and I know that we've been talking about being driven by a two-man offense for the majority of the season, but it's true. When those guys don't leave the yard, when they have to string together a whole bunch of hits to score runs, it becomes a much more difficult situation, obviously.
Yeah. All right, well, let's do the positives first. Sticking with the theme. If they win the series, positives first. They lose the series, negatives first.
It's been a minute.
We just mentioned the series win. First since the Colorado series, which came back on August 25th. And I just said they lost the series after winning the first game each time. Moving on to number 2, which I think is the biggest takeaway from this weekend. Heel comes back, looks great. Schmidt comes back, who hasn't pitched since, when did he go on the IL? Like
May?
May?
I believe it was
a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
And he came back and looked like he had not missed a start. Like this was just 5 days after his last start. That's what he looked like. And I think those are huge because the question marks we had going as we approach the playoffs is who's going to be the starter, but who's going to be the third and fourth starter. And it was is Stroman going to get it because he's the veteran. We know Nestor could move to the bullpen, which we saw this weekend. Like, what's it going to be? Question marks. What if Schmidt comes back and is not good because he hasn't pitched in so long? What if Luis Hill cannot finish strong because he's pitched so more innings this season than he ever has before? I know it's one start for each of them, but it was good. Both starts were great.
Really good. Yeah. And Hill's movement looked like it was from earlier in the season. Like he's got that, when he throws that four seam from the 3/4 slot or just above the 3/4 slot, it's wicked because obviously a four seam fastball is more of a straight fastball. But when he's throwing from that 3/4 slot, to a right-handed batter, it's almost coming across their body even more so. And when it's 97, 98, that's how good, when he's good and he's throwing from that slot as a right-handed batter, being a little wild is okay because it's hard to pick that ball up, I think. So But he was really good, man. His stuff looked great. I know he was, his pitch count was getting a little high early in the game, but I thought he settled in and
pitched
just
6
did
innings though. Like you're not going to get more than that out of him.
He was able to kind of rein in that count and get enough so that he could get through 6. But I thought he was awesome, and you saw the glove popping and all the good things that we saw earlier in the year when he was going really well were on display for him this series.
Do you remember what I texted? I don't remember if I put it in our chat for the show or in our group text with Frank and Neil. Do you remember what I said about him during that start? I said he looked rejuvenated. Like, because literally that's what it looked like. If you remember his last few starts before he went on the IL for, if you want to call it just a shutdown for shutdown's sake, whatever, he just looked like he was laboring through everything.
Yeah, he did. And again, we go back to what was the game plan for him and managing the innings, managing the the pitch count within the starts. Like I think that the Yankees, and frankly, I don't necessarily like when they come in with a game plan to say, hey, we're going to limit him at X amount of starts, X amount of innings. You do have to feel it out a bit. And what we saw when he had that strain in his midsection is that you're right, he was laboring, but he wasn't sharp. You could tell that there was fatigue, and when there's fatigue, it messes with everything mechanically. And that's a big deal for him. I think when he feels strong and good mechanically, he can be a little bit more sound. But once he starts flying off, once fatigue sets in, that's when injuries happen. That's when you're not able to throw the ball where you want to consistently. So it was definitely good to see, and hopefully that little time off for him was enough for him to be able to be rejuvenated for a stretch run.
Do you still think it's competition for the 3rd and 4th spots in the rotation for the rest of the month?
Yeah, I do. I think that they have to see. Yes, I do. I think they're going to go with the hot hand. But that said, like, again, the thing that we've been talking about as far as a narrative with who's going to go in there, who do you trust the most to go in there? Who do you believe has the best ability to go into a different situation and flourish and succeed? And I still think it's Nestor Cortes. Even though I know he's not very, very happy about the situation. But yeah, I think there's a competition on who it's going to be. But all signs are pointing towards Luis Gil, if he's healthy, to get the ball in Game 3, I think. And then from there, I don't know what the competition is with Marcus Stroman.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Marcus Stroman, I feel like he's in a different spot. There's no upside with him. There's upside with Schmidt.
Yeah, because I think what the Yankees are thinking is it's Cole, Rodon, Stroman, and then Schmidt and Gil competing for the other start in the playoffs. But what if both Gil and Schmidt outpitch Stroman? How do you not start both of those guys over Stroman? Like, other than the fact that Stroman's a veteran, he has not done anything to say he deserves the ball in a Game 4 in the playoffs.
No, and you're saying the third starter, if there's a competition between Schmidt and Gil and Marcus Stroman, it's almost like those two guys against Stroman.
I
1000% believe that Luis Gil, if he's pitching well and going into the playoffs, he's pitching well, I think he's going to get the ball over Stroman. I don't think that's a competition.
I'm not necessarily talking about the order. Like, yeah, if you Gil then Stroman, I'm talking about who's gonna get a start.
Look, I think at the end we said that there two guys are going to have to be most likely long men out of the bullpen or just have that flexibility. And I think Nestor Cortes is going to be one of them. And
well, that's clear after they put him in the bullpen this week.
I don't think that's clear. I think that was they had the ability to flex him a little bit because of the way that the rotation was going. They needed to get starts for these guys, and they're able to do it. Is it the most logical set? Yes, I think it's the most logical thing to do. But you're going to need someone else out there who's going to not get a start. And I think between Stroman and Clark Schmidt, those are the two you're looking at. And I don't know how they feel about Marcus Stroman coming out of the bullpen in the playoffs.
No, but see, that's what I was saying. I don't know. If they're close, I think Stroman's going to get it.
Well, I think it depends on how they're pitching.
Okay. I hope so. They should.
That's how it should go.
It's how it should
Yes,
go. But that's 100%. Not how things have gone with the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're obviously with Clark Schmidt stretched out the way he is, like they're looking at him as a starting pitcher right now, right? So he's he's full blown into into that mix. And if he's pitching well, I just wonder what they're going to do for the next 3 weeks with this 6-man, because they want to keep people stretched out. Obviously, like Nestor's not stretched out.
Don't the off days make it so it's actually not that much of an issue? Because I was looking at their schedule, and I believe, hold on, I'm pulling up their schedule.
And Nestor's going to be in, from what they're saying, even like the way that the rotation's going to pan out is that Nestor's going to get a start coming up as well. So this isn't something that's completely permanent. They're not saying that this is a permanent move by any means, but.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. They're in a bit of a stretch here without any off days, because they just played the weekend series in Chicago, and they've got all week this week against the Royals and then the Red Sox, and they have an off day on Monday the 16th, and then they play 6 games on the West Coast, and then they've got an off day on the 23rd, which is their last off day of the season, and then they play 6 games at home against Baltimore and Pittsburgh to finish the season, and then it's the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you only have 2 more off days the rest of the way.
So you're saying because of the off days, the 6-man can be used?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's convenient. That's for sure. That's convenient. And Nestor's going to get the ball. They've already said that Nestor's going to get the ball again for a start coming up. So that's what they're doing, I guess. And I mean, that'll give us, again, they're still stretched out. Like that's the bottom line is like those guys are going to stay stretched out. So they're going to have options come the end of the regular season. And who knows, like that series against Baltimore, the AL East very well will come down to that series, and they're going to have to beat them by going to come down, but they're going to have to beat them by a full, they're going to have to, there's no ties.
You can't tie.
There's no ties here because the ties are a loss for the Yankees. So,
right.
All hands might be on deck in order to win the AL East crown if that's what they deem is the most important thing.
And also, you don't know what they're doing with the rotation. They might be trying to line up for that series. That could be part of the, Nestor.
But does that also allow them to line up for the playoffs, though? Because you can't just line up for that series and then not line up for the playoffs.
Right. Well, so right now I'm just looking at Fangraphs.
A lot of math.
Fangraphs does it, tries to project, and they have Nestor going on, looks like Friday night. That would line Cole up to pitch the second to last game of the season. So
which then lines him up to pitch the first game of the playoffs, which is usually
But again, if they win the East, like they're looking at a different playoff schedule, obviously. So they have to
right. And also,
but if you win the East, though, but if you win the East, then it doesn't matter because everyone's going to be fully rested in your rotation. You just line it up however you want to line it up. But
that's why you're looking at that Baltimore series.
Yeah, if you play the wild card, that starts on Tuesday. Well, actually, sometimes it might, the AL NL might flip flop, right? Doesn't sometimes they?
Yeah, I think the AL is first this week. I think the AL is.
Okay, so then that means the AL would check on that, Logan. So that would, if you start on Tuesday and Cole pitches the second to last day of the season, that's not good.
Well, yeah, and when's the play-in game too? The play-in
AL wildcard game A.
It's the day after the season, right?
10-1. They start on the same day, actually.
Both of the wild cards
Tuesday.
Both of the wild card series start on Tuesday. So you cannot have Cole pitch in that last series against Pittsburgh because then he would not be ready for game 1 of the playoffs.
And again, but it all comes down to, I guess it depends. It's still, you have to play the series afterwards, but when you're head to head, you need to prioritize those games against the Orioles, like 1,000%. So you line up for that Orioles series.
Cole needs to pitch in that Orioles series.
Yes.
Not only to beat the Orioles, but also then to pitch if you play a wild card in that first game.
So if they go with Nestor on Friday, say, and they stick with a 6-man, yeah, he's lined up to pitch 2 days before the Orioles series.
Nestor. He is in Cole? Or Nestor?
He is in Cole.
Oh,
sorry. So if they pull out a 6-man, then I think he'd be 1 game ahead.
Or you just push him.
Push him. That's exactly what they're going to do. Because when it comes down to that, they're absolutely going to push him a day. Yeah, I don't think that matters.
Because not only does that get you a start against Baltimore, it ensures you a game 1 start of the wild card series. Because if you don't, that means he is going to miss Baltimore. and then have like 9 days off before the wild card.
Garrett Cole cannot miss the Baltimore series. That's just
well, if
just
he
can't do
pitches,
that.
if they line him up for game 1 of the Baltimore series, he would be also lined up on regular rest to pitch the last game.
So
of the
that's
season,
what you do,
which is good because he could pitch a bullpen essentially. He could
Yeah.
pitch 3 innings, 2 innings, 3 innings, and then be ready to go for 2 days later.
That's what you have to do. And the 6-man rotation plus the only 2 off days between now and the end of the season allows you to push Cole to get that game 1 against Baltimore.
There is a lot of versatility that they could do with this. I mean, they can move it in when they have 6 guys that could start in a stretch out, they could really do it however they want. Like we could just speculate. There's no math to it. When it's 5, there's you know what I mean. They can only do so much.
There's a variable here that's in play, so they can tinker with it, which is a good thing. I think that's a very good thing. Obviously, you want Garrett Cole to be strong and going into it and feeling good about his preparation, but he threw 99 pitches in this last one. So that was something that we were looking at, like him going and making sure that he's conditioned to be, that 100+ guy, which they need. I mean, he's right there. So I think it's lining up nicely.
All the starting pitching, all the pitching for the Yankees this weekend was fantastic. Nestor Cortes piggybacking Schmidt out of the bullpen, 4 1/3, no hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, finished the game off, had a 2-run lead, actually came in with a 1-run lead, then finished the game off. Definitely showed the potential of what Nestor Cortes can be out of the bullpen in the playoffs. But then these quotes after the game went around. He was asked about being moved to the pen. He said, quote, "Obviously I was upset. I feel like amongst the starters, I've been the workhorse here. Once Garrett Cole went down, they picked me to be the opening day starter, not necessarily the number 1, but the opening day starter. I had to switch my routine there, and now they do this. I'm never going to back down from a challenge. I'm never going to leave my teammates out to dry. You're always going to get my best effort, no matter if I'm happy or not. That's what I did today. I just came out there and proved that I can be put in any situation, and from here on out, that's what my role. If that's what my role, then I'll accept it." Pretty strong comments there.
100%. Like he's not backing down from the fact that he's not happy about the situation. He wants to be a starting pitcher. I mean, look, especially with when you're a professional like this, you want to be labeled as a certain thing. It affects how you make money long term as well.
Big time.
And you have too much success out of the bullpen.
Tens of millions of dollars potentially.
Too much success out of the bullpen, then you're like, oh, maybe he's good out there. But again, I think this is more to Nestor's credit than anything else. And I understand that that's hard to see from his perspective, but there's a lot of trust, I think, with Nestor Cortes, and the fact that he is able to, just like he said, able to, change up his routine so that he could be an opening day starter, change up his routine to go out of the bullpen. He just has that flexibility, and he's got that dependability, I think, from in their mindset that he's able to make these adjustments a lot better than other people can do that. And
his flexibility is his own worst enemy.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good thing for the team. And I think him having a chip on his shoulder is also a very good thing. Him being pissed off and like the fact that he wants to shove just to prove that he is, that guy, good. I want him to have that mentality because that's a good competitive spirit.
He's still in arbitration, right? He's still making arbitration money, I believe, Nestor Cortes.
I'd have to look up his contract. I don't know exactly where he is.
Well, it's just like the kicker is he gets moved to the bullpen, then goes to an arbitration hearing, and you got the Yankees being like, "Well, you're in the bullpen, so you're not a starting pitcher, so your value is lower because of that." And it's just like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, but that's and I, part of him, I think, is protecting that future conversation with whomever it is, whether it's arbitration or his agent talking about a contract somewhere. I think all of that stuff plays into what he's thinking.
Right. If he's pitching on a 4-year, $60 million deal, he doesn't say boo about this probably.
No, exactly. The guy's. Because he's had some struggles in the past as well. And you see moments where Nestor shines, but then I feel like everybody is always saying with Nestor Cortes, well, is it real? And that was the narrative for such a long time, remember?
Dude
and then
was an all-star and we're like,
you blink and he puts together 162 game sample size of like really, really good baseball, like shutdown baseball. And you're still like, well, when's it going to happen? when because he doesn't throw 100 miles per hour. He's throwing from different angles. He's a little bit of smoke and mirrors.
He's a little pudgy lefty. Like you're like, hey,
he's a pitcher.
He's a gamer.
He knows how to pitch. He knows how to pitch. And
I
you
think
can say that differently because a lot of guys who come out there and just throw gas don't know how to pitch.
If we're just talking about this season, I agree. Nestor Cortes out of the bullpen makes the most sense. He's the most flexible, and I also trust him to just not shit himself in uncomfortable situations, right? Like where some other starters, you change up their routine, you change up their thing, and then they melt down. Like, oh, the pitch comm's not working. Carlos Rodon can't freaking concentrate on runners, right? Like you see other pitchers on this team completely have mental breakdowns when something doesn't go their way. That's not Nestor Cortes.
No, Nestor Cortes, if the clouds are in a certain way and they're giving you a particular pattern, he'll like pitch to it. He'll do things that are advantageous for him with his surroundings.
And nimbus clouds today, so my cutter was on point.
Yeah, he's like in game he's extremely perceptive because he's got the ability to do different things on the mound than the majority of people, so he's able to pick up on that stuff.
And then Boone responded to the comments, I don't need everyone to be happy with everything. I want them wanting and expecting the best. There comes a time when you've got to make difficult decisions, and then it's on us and the players to go out there and do your job and be a pro. That's what we saw with Nestor yesterday. I don't need everyone to be happy with everything is not something I would have expected Boone to say there.
Well, I mean, Nestor Cortes came out publicly and said something. So at that point, it's out in the open. Like Boone doesn't like to air any of the stuff. That's
but Boone wants everyone to be happy. Positive. He wants to be the everyone's best friend, the cool guy uncle. That's what
I know. But nobody
to
usually comes out and says anything against him either publicly.
Was that against Aaron Boone or was that just against being? I mean, it
has to be.
Boone's against the manager.
It's the coaching staff.
Yeah,
it's more about the coaching staff and I think it was more him talking about the group in general.
If Nestor Cortes, instead of pitching no hit ball over 4 1/3 inning, gave up 4 runs in an inning and 2/3 and then said this shit, like this would be a big deal. But because he pitched well, everyone's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Well, and that's the thing about Nestor is that he's probably not going to say those things if he didn't pitch well either. He understood he understood the moment. He knew what the deal was. Like he came out and shoved, and he said all the right things too about Clark Schmidt. Like Nestor's obviously an extremely good teammate, and when you're looking at some of these decisions, obviously has nothing to do with who's on the team and the players and the situation that they're all put in, because he wanted Clark Schmidt to do well, and he was even talking about it like he came in a different type of situation, runner on third base, get out of that moment so that Clark doesn't get a run on, but he was able to do it. So I don't know how many guys are able to do that from the starting rotation, able to come in there and with a runner on third base and pitch out of a situation.
Right. As much as it is who do I trust most to get a start in the playoffs, it's who do I trust most to be able to come out in bullpen situations and pitch well and be effective.
Don't forget my prediction with Nestor the fireman, that nasty Nestor the fireman. And
that's a whole other question though, right? How is he going to be used out of the bullpen?
Yeah,
I
mean, first and foremost, if he's the guy in the bullpen, like I said, he's going to be ready for that Luis Severino type start, where if you falter early and you want to stay in the game, Nestor's coming in to give you.
I hope not.
4 innings.
Coming bases loaded in the first inning, try to.
But I'm saying like that's the first thought of him. Like he's ready for that, and then if that doesn't happen? Now how do you use him?
But you know what the actual genius about, not to go down a rabbit hole here, but the actual genius of bringing David Robertson in that situation in that wild card game is you brought a short reliever used to getting out of jams instead of just bringing your long guy in.
Yeah, 100%. But the difference is that he gave you the length after that. His mentality was,
I got to third innings.
Yeah, I got to come in. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And
David Robertson is built different,
and I think Nestor Cortes built different.
We're going to get into some negatives from the series, but first we are brought to you today by Factor Meals. Eating healthy and nutritious meals can be a difficult task, especially if you have to juggle work, a family, errands, or whatever else might be getting in the way of grocery shopping and cooking. That's where Factor can come in to save the day. With Factor, you get no prep, no mess meals delivered right to you. You can also stick to your wellness goals because their meals are nutritious and dietitian approved. The process is very easy. You just go on their website and choose from over 35 delicious meals each week. You can customize your deliveries with 60 different different add-ons. Highly skilled chefs prepare the food, deliver it straight to you. Maybe not the chefs, but it gets delivered to you in a box with nice ice in there. Heating the meals up takes just 2 minutes, and then there is no mess or anything to clean up. All of Factor meals are fresh and never frozen, with options from breakfast all the way to dessert and everything in between. We have an awesome offer for you right now. Head to factormeals.com/Bronx50 and use code Bronx50 to get 50% off your first box and then 20% off your next month. Again, 50% off your first box and then 20% off your next month at factormeals.com/Bronx50. We are also brought to you today by Navage Nasal Care. It's one thing we all can agree on, is that congestion is no fun. It's no bueno. Maybe you have a cold or just allergies, whatever it is. Congestion is a pain because it affects your sleep, your breathing, makes it hard to focus, and generally just puts you in a bad mood. We have a great product to tell you about if you're suffering from congestion. It's called Navage Nasal Care. Navage makes breathing easier. Navage uses smooth saline flow and gentle patented nasal suction to clear nasal passages. Navage is drug-free and uses 99.9% pure saline salt pods with no medicinal side effects. It's very easy to use. You just hold it up to your nose and you press start. It works in as little as 30 seconds. The weather is changing. It's cold out in the mornings, cold out in the evenings. You've got a hoodie on right now, Scott. So colds can happen, especially as the weather goes from summer to fall. Now is the perfect time to get a Navage device to make sure you are breathing easier. I love this product, and I know you will too. Right now, listeners can get a convenient Navage starter pack, including a nose cleaner with batteries and 30 original salt pods. Plus, you get a cleaning kit as a free gift with your order by going to navage.com/Bronx and use promo code Bronx. Once again, navage.com/Bronx, promo code Bronx for the starter pack plus a free cleaning kit. Navage is spelled Navage. Navage.com/Bronx, promo code Bronx. Some negatives from the series. Judge is definitely a negative right now for the Yankees. Since his last home run on August 25th, which was 12 games prior, he's hitting 186. He does have a 340 on base percentage, so he's still taking his walks, but he's only slugging 256, and it's a 595 OPS. He's just been bad. 17 strikeouts in 53 plate appearances in that time. He has not looked good at the plate. It's just a slump. I'm telling myself it's just a slump. He's going to bounce back. I know he is. He's too good. Here's the thing, though. He needs to have a good October, okay? Judge needs to have a good October. Not just so the Yankees can win, not just because Soto and Judge are the best 1-2 punch in baseball, and that's how the Yankees are going to score runs in the playoffs with those two guys. Judge needs a good October for himself, too, because he has not had one.
This is just a blip on the radar. I'm not going to get to, I'm 100% not getting, concerned about this. Just like in April, stay the course. You stay the course. Now, granted, we don't want anything extended like that. It looked like, he's definitely getting his walk, so he's still seeing the plate. And I think he's just a little off. I saw some better at bats, in this series. Obviously he got that double down the line. And he had another base hit. Like he looked like he was closer. So I'm not concerned one bit about him. But you're right. He does need to have a good October. Let's get there and get ready for it. But we'll talk about that when it comes. But I'm really not concerned at all.
Yeah. So Judge in his career has a career regular season just a hair over 1,000 OPS, which is bonkers. Okay, having a career 1,000 OPS is insanely good. His career postseason OPS, I'm scrolling down to it, is 772. That's not terrible. I'm not saying 772 is terrible. But when you're a 1,000 OPS player and you go all the way down to 772, you're not giving your team what you're supposed to be giving them. Now, even if he's not going to do 1,000 because you're facing much better pitching in the playoffs, okay, but you can't go down over 200 points. That's just taking too much away from the team, too much of what makes the team in the regular season that's not there in the playoffs. We've said this a million times. We've referenced this. The reason Derek Jeter gets credited with being such a clutch player is because his regular season numbers and his postseason numbers are basically the same. some guys turn it up in the playoffs. Usually, if you're going to be a fantastic regular season player, it's really hard to turn it up in the playoffs. But if you can be close to what you are in the regular season, 85, 90% of it, you are labeled a clutch player because you're doing the things you're known for in high leverage moments that you also do in low leverage moments in the middle of August.
Obviously, it's going to be, when you're putting up the numbers as gaudy as Judge is during the regular season, it's going to be really hard to put up very similar numbers to that because of the power.
That.
I know, but I'm just reiterating it. I think it's a little different in the style of play with Jeter and Judge in that regard as well.
Don't
Judge,
go from 1,000 to 772.
I understand, but you need the power needs to be there. Like, and again, it's a smaller sample size for what he's doing. But you're right, he needs to be there. I think he's had the most. This is the year where obviously with Juan Soto and Wells hitting the way he is. Stanton, I know has been reeling a little bit, but has been very good in the playoffs as well. Like has probably the most protection around him that he's had in quite some time. So I think he's in a situation right now where you know there's no reason why he shouldn't have a good October.
But
he's got to get through these little slumps.
17 strikeouts and 53 plate appearances is a 32% strikeout rate.
Yeah,
and we talked about how over the last couple of years, Judge took his strikeout rate from mid-30% to mid-20%, which is a big difference. And for a guy like Judge, who has that much power and still gets a lot of walks, only striking out 25% of the time is huge. I don't know what a strikeout rate in the playoffs is. Eye test tells me it's like 35% probably or above. He strikes out a ton in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got to have a good one. Obviously, he's the leader of this team now, and that 1-2 punch with or 2-3 punch, depending on who you're talking to, if that's a good idea, is going to be vital to what they're doing.
Gleyber is going to be the leadoff hitter from here on out, despite the fact that what did he do? I think he got 2 for 13 in the series this weekend.
He was on base. He was on base though. Again, it's not a problem. It's not a problem right now.
Yeah, not a problem yet. There's other problems with Gleyber Torres, which we'll talk about. Second negative from the series, 6 runs in 3 games. Where'd the offense go? I mean, freaking Verdugo after the Texas series, like, oh, we're hitting. We're doing the things on offense that we need to do. Just to tick off. Just pitchers tick off. Up 6 runs in 3 games against the Cubs. I guess the hitters didn't do what they're supposed to do. 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position on Friday, which is fine. I mean, that's a 400 batting average. Then 0 for 7 on Saturday and 1 for 8 on Sunday. And when you lose by 1 run and you go 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position,
Yeah, I mean, overall, the whole series was just good pitching on both sides. So, yes, the Yankees struggled, but overall, good series on the pitching side, I think, for both teams. So you kind of have to talk like Jameson Taillon when he's on. We've seen him obviously, pitching against his best friend in the world, which they're going to talk about forever. It's like I swear when Taillon and Cole are in the same city, like it becomes like the Jeter Todd Frazier picture from Tom's River. It's like got to be discussed at all times for an extended period of time. But he pitched well, and when Jameson Taillon's on, like he's a very good pitcher. So, not coming through in those big moments is that's the Achilles heel of this team.
You know what I was also thinking about this weekend? Do you remember the last time the Yankees played at Wrigley Field back in 2017? Remember that series?
Kinda. Oh, that was the Brett Gardner home run.
And that was the Brett Gardner home run on Friday. And this is, remember, 2017 Cubs are coming off a World Series. Yankees we don't know what the Yankees are at that point. And the Yankees, I believe, swept that series in Chicago, and we were like, oh, okay. But do you remember that? Do you remember that Sunday game?
If you jog my memory, I bet I will.
We did not stay up for it. It was Sunday Night Baseball. The reason we didn't stay up for it is because it was 18 innings long.
I mean, I probably stayed up for it.
Okay, well, I didn't stay up for it, and we recorded in the morning.
You usually
the next
don't.
Morning.
I usually stay up.
This is back in the day.
Kicking myself at the I don't.
But back in the day, we used to record after Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was like, I'm not going to record at 3 a.m., so I'm going to bed, and I'll see you in the morning. But yeah, the Yankees won. I forget how they ended up scoring. I think it was like a pass ball or something. They scored in the 18th inning. Obviously, that can't happen anymore because of the.
Well, it can.
Could just be hard.
The
Manfred guy,
runner.
Manfred man. So yeah, I just thought I jogged my memory of that series this weekend.
It was cool seeing Rizzo go back and get the the love that he was getting. Obviously, he's a hero in that city, helping bring them their World Series title. So that's a big deal.
Who would you equate? What player for the Yankees would have come back and get that kind of love?
You can't. No.
Well, do you remember Matsui?
It's the Cubs.
Do you remember the love? I know you can't.
The 2016 Chicago team.
There's nothing like that because of
you can't do that.
I know,
it's
but I'm
like
saying,
what the Red Sox did. You go back to the Manny Ortiz guys. Like that's the comparison.
I was thinking though when Matsui came back as an angel for the Yankees, because Matsui was one of the most beloved Yankees, and he finally got the World Series ring and was the World Series MVP. So he got a huge ovation when he came back.
Yes, I still, granted,
you can't compare it. I know.
You cannot compare. I think it's just so very different.
All right. The last negative from the series, you just put in here mentals. The mental twins, Alex Verdugo and Gleyber Torres, a couple boneheaded plays over the weekend. The Gleyber one this really angered me because it's like football's on. I got football on the big screen, right? I got football on the big screen yesterday afternoon for the 1:00 games, and I got the iPad on for the Yankees game, and I so it's like I'm already not paying full attention to that because football starts, and then all of a sudden I just see Gleyber boot a ball, but then I had to like do a double take to look at the game situation. I'm like, oh, there's runners on base. That would have been the third out, and then I look up a minute later, and Cole's given up a 2-run single to Isaac Paredes, and I'm like, Gleyber Torres, no player in my lifetime just botches routine plays as often as this guy.
And he does it because he puts himself in situations, with his body that are just not right. Like, there's no reason why he couldn't have squared up that ball, fielded it between his legs, and made an easy play. But instead, he was like late approaching the ball, tried to backhand it a little bit, but backhand it in front of him. So his glove was turned. It was just, it looked awkward. His feet were all, out of whack. So he put himself in a bad situation with his reaction and the way that he broke down for that ball in the first place. And then he made it more difficult on himself and obviously booted it. So yeah, those are the moments where Gleyber's got to understand what is happening here. You need to field the ball. Field the ball, then make the throw. Not like,
there's 2 outs.
In.
He's fielding that like he needs to get a double play on that ball.
Yes, exactly.
But there's 2 outs.
You to believe that maybe
he thought there was only 1 out in the inning. Oh, that wouldn't shock me at all. You also saw earlier in the series him and Volpe, and I believe it was Gleyber Torres' fault because it was a right-handed batter up, just didn't cover the bag once again when a runner is running. I used this analogy last time. The runner is literally running across you in front of your face, and you don't cover the bag. How does that happen?
Well, if you think that the other person has to cover the bag, then you still see that person.
You're like, it's your job. There's a right-handed bag. I don't remember the exact situation, but I remember the broadcaster saying that's on Gleyber Torres, so there must have been a right-handed batter up.
Yeah, so mentals on him were not strong in that moment, and I know this is what drives you nuts about him, and a lot of people.
Why would it not drive someone nuts?
It's the little things that he should be making, the little plays that he should be making, and he just doesn't for whatever reason. He can't mentally get around the fact that he needs to secure that ball first and foremost. Secure that ball. Make the play. You have 2 options to make that play. 2 easy options to make that play as a second baseman. You can go to second or you can go to first, but you don't have to do one of them. So you secure the ball and you make the play.
Yeah. Do you agree though? You've never seen a player mess up easy plays as often as he does?
Yeah, he does make a lot of like really, really simple mental mistakes that should not be made. Like those, if you're going to make errors, you need to, and look, I get it. Like you're going to boot a ball. You're going to boot a ball. Balls get booted. Like it comes up on you and your heel. But the bigger thing for this one, that's not what happened here. He was out of position. He should have fielded that ball a lot more cleanly in standard fielding mechanics rather than, coming up on it, kind of backhanding it the way he did. He was just out of sync. His body was out of sync to field that ball. And it's probably because of the jump he got. or the fact that he thought there was like he had to hurry for some reason and do something different. I don't know what was going on in his mind, but yes, those are the plays that are that drive you nuts for sure. As a Major League Baseball player.
To make matters worse, I'm not necessarily blaming Cortes, but like couldn't pick up the inning, right? Like,
yeah, but I mean, I get it. The box score tells me that he didn't pick up the inning and that runs scored, but he got Paredes it was a ball off the end of his bat. It could have been a broken bat. He thought he flew out to center field. Unfortunately, the ball just died right in front of Judge.
Doesn't Paredes, since he got traded to the Cubs,
he's been terrible.
He's awful.
Yeah, he's been terrible. So goes to show you that even if you make the right move, it might not work out. And
the other one, Verdugo, almost getting
this one makes
thrown out on first base, which it got overturned. He was originally called out on a routine fly ball to center field, with play in front of him, and he's just running too far off the bag. Did he forget how many outs there are? Who knows? I wanted him to get called out just because it was such a dumb play. I'm like, you deserve to be out. Sometimes you just deserve to be out.
I don't understand what was going through his brain in that moment. The play is directly right in front of you. You see what's happening. And, you know, if there are 2 outs, you're not stopping. So if you thought there were 2 outs, you're still running. So if he thought there were 2 outs, he's wrong there. And if he didn't, he's wrong in every occasion. But he got so far off the bag that, you know, the center fielder realized, I'm like, what is this guy doing? And then throws a laser over there. And yeah, he barely gets back. And then you see Verdugo like shaking his head, like, yeah, I knew I was back. I'm like, bro, like, I don't care. You know, the replay be damned. Like, that is a moment where what are we
it doesn't matter.
Doing?
You still need to have it. Like, Boone and the coaches still need to go over to talk to Verdugo in that situation.
100%.
Yeah.
I would have pulled him from the game in that moment. Like, it's egregious.
It's egregious.
It's truly egregious. Especially with the way that the series has been going. Like, it's a tight series. The pitching's been good all weekend. Like, you can't just mentally. I don't even know what that was, because there's no even like explanation by what he thought mentally either. It made no sense.
It was just dumb.
It made no sense.
And so I was joking, like, can you imagine the conversation between Glaber and Verdugo?
Yeah, dude. Dog.
Oh,
a lot of dogs. A lot of dogs in that conversation.
Just the dumbest conversation of all time. And that Verdugo conversation thing leads me into Brian Cashman. So he was asked by the media. So he did a media session. Was this on the off day on Thursday? He did a media session. It wasn't televised or public anywhere, but you saw a bunch of beat reporters being like, oh, we talked to Cashman. Here's what he said. He was asked about Dominguez, because Dominguez is now raking. Okay? He's raking. Yeah. And so they're asking, hey, what's up with this? You got plans to call up Dominguez, whatever? And Brian Cashman alluded to the fact that they believe Verdugo gives the Yankees the best chance to win right now. And I know you have said this, and we have talked about that's obviously what they must think. They're not fudging with Jason Dominguez, his service time or rookie status or any of that crap. They just truly think Alex Verdugo gives them the best chance to win. And to that I say, how and why?
Because they'll go back to the fact that he's been in the league for a long time. They'll go back to the fact that he's a plus defender. They'll go back to the fact that
has he even though been a plus defender
in
this
his
year?
Career, in his career. They'll go back to, I mean, yeah, early in the year, we thought that this was like the biggest heist of all time.
We keep saying early in the year.
I know.
He had one good
month and a half.
He had one good month. May 1st on, he was the worst player in baseball.
But even defensively, like we saw some really good stuff early on, besides the one that he fell down on. But they'll go to all these things.
So StatCast, outs above average.
They'll look for it.
Outs above average, he's the 40th percentile. Okay? So not even middle of the pack. Outs above average. He has good arm value and arm strength. Fielding run value overall is 73rd percentile. It must be because of his arm value, but his range and outs above average, 40th percentile. Batting run value, by the way, bottom 2% in the league. He's been, without question, one of the worst players in baseball this year.
I truly hope that nobody is coming up to Jason Dominguez, showing him these numbers and saying, your organization feels that this guy gives a better than you. And like, if I'm there and I'm trying to build confidence of a kid, I'm like, wow, damn, like they think that guy's better than me. They think that I'm going to have such a fall off and such a dip from AAA to the major leagues that they don't believe that I'm
or that I'm going to be somehow worse.
That?
I'm going to be somehow worse than the worst player in baseball this year.
Yeah, it makes.
So what happened? On one hand,
break that down, because if you put it in that context,
right?
If you put it in that context, it makes literally no sense. Again, this is the second thing that makes no sense that we're talking about. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, but they've been consistent. They've been consistent by leading with this narrative that Verdugo does give them the best chance, that they believe that they can't give up on Verdugo in this moment for whatever reason, because you can't go back to numbers. You can't go back to numbers. Even if you say there's a 75% drop off from what Dominguez is doing in AAA to what he will do in the major league, he's still better than Verdugo.
Also, on one hand, Jason Dominguez is an untouchable prospect for the Yankees.
Right.
They wouldn't trade him at all. Nothing. Untouchable. Don't even ask. Hang up the phone immediately. Can't call him up because we have the worst left fielder in baseball. And he can't possibly have a lane. Can't possibly have a lane to replace the worst left fielder in baseball.
With no commitment to that player.
So I'm like, you said you're actually saying, Cashman, with a straight face, Alex Verdugo gives us the best chance to win. That's like gaslighting the fan base. Come on.
Yeah, you look at this, and again, I'm telling you, look at the calendar. When they're pressed to make a decision, when there's no more baseball to be played on a consistent basis in AAA.
So what are we, 6 days away?
We will have him up. And if they get to a point where he doesn't come up because of this, because they're almost like the way, if you read between the lines and look at these comments, it does kind of look like they're also potentially setting themselves up for a never call up, for him not to come up at all.
I think that at this point, yes.
They are.
What is the point of
actual words?
What is the point of calling up Dominguez on September 15th? And then are they going to play him? Are they going to start him the last 2 weeks of the season? Because if you do that, then he's your starter for the playoffs. And if you're thinking, once we call up Dominguez, we're going to start him and he's going to be our playoff guy, do that now. Why are you waiting for that? If their plan is to just call him up on September 15th and play him once a week, okay, fine. But like,
that's not going to show us. That's not going to show
do anything.
Us much.
It does nothing.
That actually puts you're putting him in a worse situation, which puts your team in a worse situation because you're not actually
and all that does
who the better player is in that moment because of the inconsistency in playing time.
All that does is if Dominguez gets a start and he goes 2 for 4 with a home run, well, does he play the next day? Is Verdugo going to get benched? All that does is open up questions. Your indecision opens up questions.
Yes.
And that's why I agree. That's why I agree. They're going to not call him up to not have that indecision and not have those questions. They've decided Verdugo's our guy, even though he stinks.
Yeah, I still don't believe that. I still believe that we're going to see him in around the next week. But it would be helpful if Verdugo, we talked about this before we started recording, but he's doing just enough. He's doing just enough to like make it point to the numbers and say, yeah, see, he's hitting 300 over the last however many games he has. But there's been one double, 1 home run. There's no power. He's making boneheaded moves. There's nothing substantial there to look at and say, this is the decision. And this is why we're saying the things that we're saying. This is what I don't understand.
There's also this stat. Alex Verdugo is 2 groundouts away from tying the StatCast era record, which is since 2015, for most groundouts to the right side in a single season with 111.
Who set that record? Chase Headley?
I'm not sure. Probably not because he was a switch hitter, but maybe.
Right. Yeah, look, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason here. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when I'm looking at what Cashman's comments are, what Dominguez is doing in AAA, how healthy he looks, how much of a fun, exciting player he looks like. And then we're looking at this guy in left field who has been a shell of a player. He had 1 good month, as we said, and you're not considering bringing him up because of the belief that you have in this player who's been bad for 3.5 months.
Yeah, I agree. We're all taking crazy pills, especially because we're getting gaslit by the general manager. All right, a couple more things to talk about. First, we are brought to you today by Raycon's Everyday Earbuds, which provide audio quality that is just as good as the, quote, big guys, but for half the price. And the exciting thing is Raycon just launched their upgraded model of their best-selling Everyday Earbuds. They have some of the must-have features in these earbuds include 32-hour battery life, a quick charging function, which allows you to get 90 minutes of battery life in just 10 minutes of charging, ergonomic design to fit almost any ear shape, active noise cancellation, 3 customizable sound styles, weatherproof and sweat resistant if you use them while you're exercising, and earbud tap functions to reduce discomfort when using them. Sometimes if you got earbuds on for 2 hours straight, the noise just gets a little pressure. You can tap it and then change up the sound and just how it's being sent into your earlobes, and just provides some nice relief. They've thought of everything Raycon has. Raycon offers a 30-day happiness guarantee, so there's no excuse for not trying out Raycon's earbuds. I've been using them when I've been going on walks and just on some jogs recently, and I love them. They stay in my ear, which not all earbuds do. Go to buyraycon.com/Bronx today to get 15% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. That's right. You get 15% off plus free shipping at buyraycon.com/Bronx, buyraycon.com/Bronx. So I was watching the game on Friday afternoon, the little Friday matinee, which I loved, by the way. That was really nice change of pace. Normally the afternoon midweek games on a Wednesday or a Thursday, I've got back-to-back meetings and I can barely follow the game. But Friday afternoon, I didn't have any meetings. I just had some work to do, so I got a TV right over my monitor right here. I had the game on and I'm listening. I'm not paying attention to every word Flaherty and Kay are saying, but I'm listening. And then all of a sudden the hair on the back of my neck stood up and I'm like, what are these two assholes talking about? Shut up, you bozos. Just two bickering, unlikable people bickering at one another for 4 straight innings. And I know the clip was going around on social media about something about Flaherty calling out Michael Kay for not wanting to do broadcasts with him. And then Flaherty's like, I just thought you didn't want to go on road trips. And Kay's like, I go on road trips. Here's the problem. Whether Kay and Flaherty have beef or not, I don't really care. The problem is they ruined the broadcast, okay? Their bickering was not enjoyable. Some guys can have back and forth bickering banter, and it's fun. It's good-natured ribbing. That is not Kay and Flaherty. Both of those guys take themselves way too seriously to have good-natured back and forth ribbing, okay? You two idiots just need to talk about baseball and shut up about your deep dish pizza and if you liked it or not, or if you got anything on the bus or you had any conversation. Just talk about the baseball game. It ruined it for me. I've very rarely had to do this. I actually pressed mute on my TV.
So a good example of broadcasters that can kind of do that back and forth is Shambi, the guy who does the Cubs. He's been on some national stuff.
He does ESPN games, doesn't he?
Does he still do them? I don't think he does.
I don't know if he still does them. I remember him on like the Wednesday Night Baseball kind of thing.
He is a guy that people give it to him all the time. Like he's just like one of those easy targets, but he does it in jest. Like he knows it's coming because he's got a really good sense of humor. And then he turns it into like a funny bit. Like it's a good example of a guy who you can do that with. With the problem with John Flaherty for the majority of this and Michael Kay, when they're being sarcastic, you can't tell that they're being sarcastic, especially Flaherty. When Flaherty is delivering something with sarcasm, I have no idea if he's actually saying it in dead serious or if he's trying to be sarcastic because the tone does not change one bit. You cannot tell. And when I went back and listened to because I had the sound down. I didn't hear it in real time. I also had the TV on, but I did not hear it in real time. But I went back and listened to it. And you could tell that there was definitely animosity behind it. Yeah. So I know they came on the next day and were like, this is just how we talk to each other. Well, it was a little different. It was a little different this time. There's no doubt it was a little different. And maybe that's because something was annoying you in the moment. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to be sarcastic and you don't change the tone of your voice or the emphasis in the words and the way that you talk, it's really difficult to pick up on that. And when you have two guys doing the same thing, nobody even knows where you are. So yeah, it was a little uncomfortable. But I don't know. I don't mind that when that stuff comes out, like it's just two people talking that yes, they're professionals. They should be getting through the thing. But I kind of like hearing when there's a little bit of annoyance between the two. Like, I would rather you do that, because if you remember when Mike Golick and Greenberg, when that was a big show in the morning, Mike and Mike, like apparently they didn't talk to each other for years off of it. Like it was just a mirage of that. And when I heard that it was just, not that they didn't talk, but like there was the relationship outside the show.
Yeah.
There was animosity there. When I heard that, I'm like, oh, so it was just like fake. A lot of it was fake. I would rather you just say something and be, actually like I know where these two stand more so than just glossing over it and being fake. That's all. Yeah, but they just don't know how to do sarcasm. Like that's.
I just thought it ruined the broadcast, and this didn't. I know the clip was just about the one moment.
But it was building up to that.
It was 4 innings of terrible broadcasting, which is an hour and a half. It's just unlistenable for an hour and a half. And I texted you guys. I was like, what is going on with this broadcast? They suck today. It was extremely noticeable.
What I was more concerned about was when I turned the game on for the first time, I saw that the Cubs were not wearing their home pinstripes.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, come on, not again. You didn't do this again, did you? Just like they did when the Yankees went to LA for the Dodgers series.
Yeah.
A couple whatever years back.
This is their Friday jersey though, apparently.
Oh, they wear it every Friday?
Every Friday, because they do every Friday tradition at Wrigley Field, day game. And this is their Friday day game jersey, which I thought it was not a good throwback or whatever. It's
the City Connect stuff, I'm sure, right?
It was bad, ugly. Give me the pinstripes. Give me the C with the red C, the pinstripes. Come on.
Stay classic.
There's so many good baseball uniforms that just like you don't need to throw all these ones in the mix.
Especially with legacy teams like the Cubs.
Like the Cardinals home jerseys are classics. The Dodgers home jerseys are class. Giants, like all of these classic jerseys.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've, stood the test of time. Keep it going. Yeah. You can have alternate jerseys. Okay. But first time the Yankees are going back to Wrigley in, multiple years. Like I want to see the Cubs and the Yankees wearing their uniforms playing each other. They did for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So that was good. But when I first saw it, I was like, come on, man.
Other things we did not mention. So on that Friday game, Holmes did not get the save spot. Weaver got the save spot. Got the save. Came in, did well. Nestor gets the win coming out. Like he had to finish that game to get the win. Clay Holmes comes in, pitches a clean 8th inning. When they're trailing 2-1, he had to hold them. That's not a leverage spot.
It's a leverage spot.
Because
it's a 1-run game. Yeah,
if Clay Holmes gives up a 2-burger there, it's like, well, this game's gone.
No, and he pitches well. 2 strikeouts. This is the thing. Like they're doing different stuff. If Weaver's getting the first look, fine. Like don't disagree with that fully either, because I think stuff wise, like he's got that, and we've seen some really good moments out of him in this season. So no complaints about what's happening right now with the bullpen and them actually going out there. Obviously there were guys that pitched well, but having Nestor Cortes out there was a big deal on Saturday because it kept them fresh as well.
Right.
That could have been a very different situation.
Almost everything pitching wise the Yankees did this weekend is a positive.
I agree. They need to sustain it, and the bullpen needs to be. We just need to see that bullpen actually function over a period of time. And this coming up, like big homestand with the Royals coming in.
Didn't the Royals? So I was just looking at the standings, and the Royals are in the second wild card position, and they've won 4 in a row, but they're 4-6 in their last 10. They were on a losing streak before that, right?
Clearly, if they've won the last 4 in a row,
but I think they felt no. But I mean, they went on. It was like, oh, people wrote them off. Right. And like they were out of the playoffs and then now they're back in.
Yeah. I don't know. People writing them off. That seems like
well, they've won 4 in a row. The Twins have lost 3 in a row. Did they play one another? Because that would make sense.
Well, so you get them coming in, playing well, feeling good, winning their last 4. It's going to be, they're a good young team, man. I know you dismissed the AL Central, but I don't
dismiss the AL Central.
Not. Because you don't know, you've never seen when's the last time since it was the World Series teams, when's the last time you saw a good Royals team? It's been a long time. Eric Hosmer was the first baseman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
it's been a minute.
The Yankees took 3 out of 4 against Kansas City early in the year. Remember, they scored like 600 runs in that series,
Yeah,
and then Clay Holmes blew the fourth game. I think that was his first blown save of the season. Was against the Royals. That was like
so
that
we got a full
started
circle
it.
moment. Maybe
That
to
started
exercise
it.
the demons, he's going to be the closer this weekend or this week as they play them.
If I'm remembering correctly, that was like a defensive meltdown in that game too. Rizzo had like a bad error in that 9th inning, and then
It started the
fell
slow,
apart.
the trickling, slow balls on the ground. Weak contact. That's when we started seeing a lot of that. We're like, oh man, it'd be nice to have a strikeout at this moment.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is they're obviously a good team. I partly in jest dismiss the AL Central because how could I not? The Yankees have owned the AL Central.
But here's also something to look at for this week, because 3 against Kansas City, 4 against Boston.
Boston's not been playing well either.
But both teams run the bases. Both teams will press the base path.
Yeah, how many stolen
with guys
bases these next 7 games?
So,
how many stolen bases?
This is going to be one, and we saw some good things from Austin Wells behind the plate. Like he hosed that dude at second base. Great tag by Glaber. There were a couple balls that got away from him as well. But I think that if you see Trevino behind the plate, I'm very curious to see how he does against these teams, because these are not a good matchup for Trevino. And then obviously Austin Wells, with a little bit more of a plus arm, they're gonna have to keep them close. And this goes back to the conversation of like, how are you keeping them close without throwing over from the pitching mound, 2 times? How are you keeping them close on the base path as a catcher by throwing down to first base? Like this is gonna be a part of the game plan on both sides, or both teams, Kansas City and Boston, that's going to be prevalent, and the Yankees are going to have to, account for. So I'm very curious as to how the coaching staff is talking about this, how they're going to react to more action on the base path when they're going to be aggressive. So the Yankees catchers are definitely going to be on the spotlight this week.
7 games between the Royals and the Red Sox. Over under stolen bases allowed 13.5.
13.5, Jesus Christ, under. Because I can't watch
2 against 2 a game. The Red Sox stole 9 in a game against them.
Yeah.
Rodon last time out allowed 5 in 2 innings.
Well, that's the thing. You got Rodon and Marcus Stroman as well.
You say it like, oh my God, that's so many.
I know it feels like a lot. It's just, but you're right. It's
2 a game. I feel like is par for the course.
Yeah. So if you're playing the numbers, it's over. They need to take that personally, and they need to hit that under.
The pitchers need to do a better job at holding, like you just said. The pitchers,
yeah,
it can't all be on the catchers. We know Trevino's arm is weak. We know Wells is at best middle of the road, but the pitchers have done a horrible job at holding runners on.
They have. That needs to be improved, and it's going to get exploited. Like this is going to be a glimpse. Like they're putting down tape for when they get to the playoffs. If they're still not doing it, if this is still a thing in the second week of September, it's going to be a problem. It's going to happen in the playoffs, especially if you're playing a team like Kansas City, who will be there most likely.
Right. All righty. That's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you guys so much for listening. So 3 against the Royals. We'll record after that series. We'll talk to you then.